Jeff, thank you for your patience.
Yeah, hi, Tom. This was just something that I felt to share because it related a bit to what I was working on recently and what the content of your last conversation. And I don't know if you're familiar with Course in Miracles, but I know it's not a Ramana text, but it seems to arrive at some of the same conclusions that Ramana comes to, that we're not this body, and this is at best an appearance, and it never actually existed. You know, the real can never be threatened, and the unreal never existed. Therein lies the peace of God. And I found from this teaching, I found it really helpful because it had a lot to do with forgiveness and forgiving the illusion, forgiving the other. And it's by holding the other as separate. The ego wants to do this, and this is how it creates duality. And I found this really powerful for me, for dissolving some things, some aspects of duality. And I just wondered how that interfaced with Ramana's teaching, because this one teacher of the Course in Miracles talks about the purpose of this creation is just a journey of forgiveness. It's just to forgive the illusion. And then somehow that collapses the whole thing. I had some sort of inkling of that, especially with relationships, because the ego wants to keep the other.
The thing is, these sorts of teachings are very wonderful, and they can reduce suffering. They can reduce the amount of suffering tremendously. I'm not overly familiar with Course of Miracles. I came across it probably 30 years ago, 25 years ago. And I flipped through the book and I read parts of it, and I've seen parts of it since. And there's definitely a lot of wisdom there. But do they recommend you turn within and discover what you are through turning within?
Yeah, I mean, that's my impression, but I'm not trying to put it and compare it, because the level of
lots of truth. You'll find these truths in many different teachings. But what you'll find is that very few teachings teach you about full liberation in a very explicit, clear way. Very few, because the nearer you get to liberation, the murkier the map becomes in most traditions. So lots of these other traditions will be very good at reducing suffering, and that's great. That is truly great. That's wonderful, and it's genuinely wonderful. But if you're a seeker of liberation, you need to engage with the teachings of liberation. And Bhagavan's teachings are the clearest and deepest I have come across. So we can explore the teachings. It can become a distraction. It can take us away. If you found something that's useful to you, then that's a gift. But then listen to Bhagavan's teachings. What is he telling us to do? What is he saying we have to do if we want to end suffering and realize the fullness of our own being? What is he telling us we should do? He's telling us the same as what the Vedas tell us to do. He's telling us the same as what the Upanishads tell us to do. He's telling us the same as what the Buddha said. But he says it very clearly, in very simple language, in very short space. You don't have to read 1,000 pages, and buried somewhere in there, you'll find a method amongst all the superstition and extraneous extra material. He just very clearly put it there. So for me, what happens is these other paths are very helpful and wonderful, but they can distract us from the final goal. That doesn't mean we shouldn't engage in them at all. No, if you want to, you're welcome to, but I suspect it'll become a distraction, especially because it's my feeling, and I might be wrong on this, is in A Course in Miracles, the method by which liberation is attained is not clearly and emphatically given, as it is in Bhagavan's teaching. Now, I might be wrong on that, and if I am wrong, please do correct me.
I don't understand the teaching enough myself, but it was the peace and forgiveness that I thought was very pertinent to me.
Well, how do you know how Course in Miracles defines forgiveness?
The illusion, yeah, it's really hard to explain, and I'm still struggling with it. I don't want to go into it. It's almost like dropping the how we hold the other. It's almost letting go of the.
Forgiveness means to cease. In my recollection of the Course in Miracles is that there's a lot of emphasis on forgiveness.
Yeah.
And forgiveness is the stopping of considering yourself to be separate to God.
Yeah, I think
the sin is to take yourself as being separate to God, and forgiveness is the cessation of that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't tell you, from my recollection at least, and maybe I just didn't read it well enough, and it was a long time ago, it doesn't tell you how to stop doing that.
That's okay. I just wanted to share that because it related to some of what was being. And also for me, it was very useful.
Okay, yeah.
Because I stopped being so pissed off with people because I realized that it was my ego that wanted to do that for its own, to keep itself alive. And then I had to forgive them and I had to forgive my ego. And it was just this process of, and it softened things. So I found it very, I mean, I don't know if other people carry these kind of like levels of aversion and stuff. I don't know if that's a common thing, but Course in Miracles opened that up and showed me, oh my God, like I found that quite helpful. And that's how, when the mind becomes healed and the body heals and everything, I mean, I know that's not the goal, but anyway.
No, you're absolutely right, Jeff. You're absolutely right. And I totally, that's a wonderful thing you're saying. And I don't think I heard what you were saying properly, if that's what you're trying to say. That's why I went off on Course in Miracles versus Bhagavan's teaching.
But I can't summarize it because I don't fully understand it. It's a really complex teaching. I don't fully, I thought you might actually.
Well, the thing is that it's not that complex a teaching, but there's a lot of it. There's a lot of material, and some of it has more clarity than others. And this is typically of channeled works. When you have a channel, depending on how clear the channel is, and it might vary from time to time, will determine how clear the teaching is. So in channeled works, you often get striking clarity come through. And then, the same channel later on might give something less clear. And that's just the nature of channeled works in general, because the teaching isn't coming from a pure silence, like Bhagavan's teaching. It's just, we could say, the self giving us a pure teaching. Mm-hmm. This is why traditionally in Hinduism, they distinguish between Shruti, which is the revealed scriptures, which are said to come directly from God or the divine, and Smriti, which is the remembered scriptures, which are from the minds of men and women, human beings. Both are holy scriptures, but Shruti is regarded as being more authoritative and coming from a higher place, because it comes directly from the divine, as opposed to Smriti, which somehow comes through the human mind. And so, we could say that these channeled works are kind of, there will be distortions often there. It doesn't mean they're useless. They're often wonderful. And going back to your fundamental point, Jeff, about forgiveness, yes, forgiveness is a wonderful, wonderful tool for self-healing, for letting go of pain, of fear. Many, many of us hold these sorts of things, hold these negative energies in our body. And forgiveness is a way of freeing ourselves from these negative energies. And, I really appreciate you sharing that with us. And I think I missed what you're trying to say. That's why I went off and learned something else. So, thank you so much for saying that.
I can't capture it like in a few words because it hit me. I was away somewhere, and Course in Miracles is very big in this place, Findhorn in the north of Scotland. And it takes a lot of, and then just the teachings became quite clear. And I thought, anyway, I just wanted to share it because it related to all this stuff around Ukraine and rudeness and all this stuff. And I felt like for me, it was
yes. You see, Bhagavan's presence shines in all things. And if we see the name and the form, we will see different shades of, beauty and ugliness, right? If you see the name and form, some aspects of the name and form of the world are very beautiful and some are less so. Some are more ugly. But if we see beyond name and form, everything is pervaded by Bhagavan's light. And there we can see the beauty that shines in everything. And this is linked to forgiveness as well.